Hi, this is Sweet June 2010. How's everybody doing this evening? I want to talk about the incident with the 4-year-old little boy fell into the enclosure where the gorilla was at the zoo. He was with his mom, and the gorilla was dragging him around the water, and they had to wind up shooting the gorilla in order to save the child's life. Well, they were debating on whether to charge the mother on the death of because they had to shoot and kill the gorilla for negligence, for her child falling into where the gorilla was at. The only problem that I have with this is I think I found out the other day that they didn't charge her, but I'm not sure. The only issue that I'm having with this is a couple of things. First of all, accidents happen. 4-year-old children are very rambunctious. I work with 3 and 4 years old at the daycare I work with. And when you understand the psychology of a child that young, they're very, very rambunctious at that age. Um, they're very hyper. Some children are more hyper than others, particularly boys at that age. Young boys at the age of 3 and 4 are very hyper. They're very hyper. They're more hyper than the girls, and they're more very high strung. And they can be defiant at that age. You know, they can be very defiant, and you tell them not to do something, and they go and do it anyway. Um, that's the psychology of a 4-year-old child. So, and they can also be very curious. You know, at that age, at 4 years old, they don't understand danger. They don't have a concept of danger. They don't have a concept of this is not safe for me to do this. They don't have the ability to do that type of reasoning. And they don't have the concept of danger at that age. So the child was not old enough to understand the how dangerous that really was when he was trying to get away from his mom to jump into there. They don't understand that. They have actually at that age they don't have really a big concept of fear at that age. Believe it or not, they don't have a big concept of fear at that age. So it's that's why when they're at that age, you have to watch them. You have to really keep a close eye on them when they're at that age, because that is actually, to be honest, that's the most dangerous time in a child's life is the toddler years, because they don't have a concept of what's danger. They don't have a concept of danger. They don't have a concept of fear. The child didn't realize how dangerous that would be, and they don't have a concept of what's safe and what's not safe. So it's us, it's the adults' responsibility that is in the presence of that child to let the child know, well, this is not safe. Take the child away from the situation. If the child, I don't know, they said that the child was talking about jumping in there, and the mother said no, and then that was the mother's responsibility to probably take the child away from that situation. Maybe that wasn't a good time or a good opportunity to look at that animal if he was being a little wild. In order to keep him safe, then she should have took him away from the situation. However, um, at that age, they're also very fast. You can take your eye off of them in a split second, and they're gone. Just that fast. So they're also very fast at that age. They have bundles and bundles of energy, and they're very fast, and they can get out of your eyesight. You can turn your head, next thing you know, they're gone. This just that fast. They're very fast at that age. So It could have been a situation to where she just turned her head real quick, and next thing you know, he was down there. It could have been just that split second. She could have turned her head and he could have jumped in there. Children at that age are very fast and they can disappear on you real quick, or they can do something really, really fast. And because they're very, very fast at that age. So it could have been a situation to where she just turned her head real quick and he could, next thing you know, he was down there. So I just think, mistakes happen. It could, like I said, it could have been a split second. And, that age, they're very rambunctious. And so I don't think that the mother should be charged. That's the first reason why I don't think the mother should be charged. The second reason why I don't think she should be charged is because there were, if you do a Google search on other similar situations to where children fell into cages with tigers or whatever, the parents in those cases did not get charged. So why single her out? Why single out and make an example out of her and charge her when you didn't charge the other people that that turned their back and turned their head and their child winded up in with the animal. And I think one child was actually mauled to death, and that parent did not get charged. And a lot of people, a lot of the black people were arguing, well, it's because she's a black woman, and people want to, and the race issue was actually brought up in this situation because they was figuring because she was a black woman and all this kind of stuff, and because they didn't charge the other parents, so why charge her? So for similar situations that happen in other zoos with other parents and children, those parents didn't get charged. So why all of a sudden you want to jump up and charge her? You know, it was an accident. It was an honest mistake, and it was an accident. Children at that age will get away from you if you turn your head on them in a split second. It can be just that fast. They can get away from you. They can get. I work with 3 and 4 year olds, so I know the mentality of them. I know the psychology of them and how they think, and I also realize they are very, very hyper, particularly little boys at that age. And I had two boys myself, and I remember them being very hyper at that age. My oldest was real hyper. Oh my God, they're very, very hyper and very high strung. And I think it has something to do with the testosterone levels. Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with that because the little boys are a lot more hyper than the little girls. At that age, they're just very hyper at that age. So she could have just turned her head, and next thing you know, split second, he could have been in there. So they're very rambunctious at that age. It was an honest mistake. Um, so I think I read somewhere where she wasn't charged. I'm not exactly sure. Um, but I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding this situation. And, a lot of people was upset with the mom because they had to kill the poor gorilla. My theory on that is, I love animals just as much as the next person, and I wish they could have found a way to save the little boy and to save the gorilla's life. In a perfect world, then maybe that would have been the case. But the zoo did what they had to do to save the child's life. At the end of the day, a human life is more valuable than an animal's life. You know, in the Bible, God created man before He created um, any other living creature. He created man first, and He made man in subjection over all the animals and stuff. I believe, I believe He did. You know, so man, because he gave men the ability to reason. You know, men in a sense is an animal too. But the difference between human beings and animals is that Jehovah God gave men the ability to reason. He didn't give animals the ability to reason. They don't have the ability to reason. This is the reason why when they mate, it's not a sin. When we mate outside of the context of marriage, it's a sin because Jehovah God has a much higher. He has set a much higher standard and expectation for us because we he gave us the ability to reason and to make decisions and things like that. This is the reason why, and we are in the animal kingdom. If you want to say that we're animals, we are the highest in the animal kingdom because of the fact that we do have the ability to reason. You know, animals don't. Okay, so at the end of the day, a human being's life is more valuable than an animal's life. So some people was even saying that they should have shot the mother. Now that's evil. I just can't believe some people was actually saying that. That's evil. Why would you want to shoot the mother? Seriously? There was people actually saying that. So, um, at the end of the day, God heard what they said. He knows what's in their heart. So, it's not my judgment. But, like I said, at the end of the day, the zoo did what they had to do to protect the child and to save the child's life. But a lot of people are acting like the gorilla's life was more valuable than the child's. And that's not the case. Like I said, I love animals as much as the next person. And I wish that they could have found a way to save both the gorilla and the little boy. But they said it just wasn't possible. Because they said if they had tasered him, that could have aggravated him even more and he could have actually hurt the child. You know. So they were had a great fear that he was going to kill the child. This was a 4-year-old baby. So the zoo did what they had to do in order to save the child's life. So you either understand that or you don't. You know, it is what it is. And as far as, I just don't think, at the end of the day, I don't think this is a race issue. I think it's a human issue. I mean, it comes down to what's more important, the child's life, human child's life, or the animal's life. And as far as the parent being charged, no, because anybody else was that, like I said, anybody else child that got into an animal enclosure, if you do a Google search, you will find other cases similar to this one, and those parents did not get charged. So now why all of a sudden you want to jump up and charge this woman? You didn't charge them, so she shouldn't be charged either. Why single her out? Okay, that's all I wanted to say about that. This is Sweet June 2010.